Yay! Happy day. I think we're on.
Beautiful.
Cara, it is so awesome to have you here. You know I love you, gorgeous.
Oh,
Ugh,
mwah, mwah. I love you right back, baby girl.
I love having you here because she and I actually just not that long ago, we were right in this very place because I was a guest on her podcast. So today we have the beautiful Cara McCarron. She is the most incredible, beautiful soul. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her back at Unleash the Power Within Chicago 2018.
Yep.
I want to say
that was
it was. Yeah. And we were sitting in the same section and it was so funny. It was like that section became a family.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was so crazy. And ever since then, we've crewed together and we've been to many other events together. And she has just been such a beautiful light in my life. She is an super duper amazing, successful business owner. And she's the founder of She's the Owner podcast and brand. And I'll let her tell you all about that. But Cara, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mama. I'm so excited.
You're the best.
Yeah, we were just flipped around like 2 weeks ago. I was interviewing you and now here we are. It's amazing.
I know. It's the beautiful, it's the magic of the universe, right? I'm doing this. I'm putting it out there. I'm making it happen. Okay. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are where you're calling in from, a little bit about what you do. And let's go from there.
So hey everybody, my name's Cara, as Katie mentioned, and so I have two companies actually. One is the She's the Owner podcast, and there's a whole brand around that as well. And that one was really born last year out of the need. Can we swear on this podcast, by the way? I forgot to ask. I thought so. So last year I was still single. I had been separated from my husband for going on 3 years, and I started to have question marks around why was I not meeting a guy that I felt was in alignment with me. And I started to do some self-discovery, which is always fun and disgusting all at the same time. And started to see that I was really showing up in my masculine. And I'm sure a lot of you are listening have just wrapped up the comeback challenge with Tony. And on day 4, or was it 3? I think it was day 3. He talked about he and Sage talked about masculine, feminine energy. And that was it. Like I was starting to realize, holy shit, I'm showing up like a guy and I'm wondering why I'm not attracting these men into my life. And so I started to really dig deep into that and started to learn a lot more about masculine and feminine energy and the understanding that we have both. It's not a guy or girl thing. We each have that in us. And so what that looked like for me was I was starting to show up very, like barky, like I was like always like in get shit done mode with my kids in particular. And so I started to think, I can't be the only woman that feels this way, and I can't be the only businesswoman. And I started to see that it was women, like we're in these positions of power, we're in these positions of leadership and ownership, and we just don't know how to turn it off. And so I started this podcast and this whole movement around teaching each other how to shut that off. And I make jokes, it's like I drop my proverbial penis in the summer and I definitely pick it up every now and then during COVID in particular. Yeah. But I've leaned more into my heart. I've leaned more into the side of me where decisions are a lot easier and I feel more calm and balanced, and I don't feel like I'm always on like hustle mode. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that's where She's the Owner was really born from. And it's evolved into this beautiful podcast where it was women only. Now it's men, women. I'm having couples on, and it's beautiful to watch the dynamic, right? Like a man, they really just want to step up for us. And women, I know. And it's like, it's squishy, but we have this insatiable need to push them back and be like, I don't need your help. I don't need a man and all that stuff. And I could talk for days about where I think all that stuff started, but really for me, my mission is to help a woman redefine and rediscover her feminine energy and still totally crush it in business, because you can do both. So,
yeah,
that's me.
I love that. So talk to me a little bit about you. You mentioned, you could talk forever about like where you think that came from. Let's talk about that. Like, where do you think this came from? I think, you and I spoke about this on your podcast as well, because it's a real thing out there. And, we can be, as women, we can be crushing it in our businesses and just like dominating and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, like the fulfillment is also like coming home and being able to like rest your head on your
Mm-hmm.
partner, and like, and really lean into that feminine space that is so powerful, that also lets us and gives us the opportunity to recharge,
Yep. Yep.
you know?
I think so. I'm 44 now, so I was a product of, late 70s, early 80s, and all through. And I mean, that's, if any of your listeners and viewers have kids, 0 to 10 is like super. They're like sponges, even beyond, but really at that time they're really sponges. And during the 80s, a lot of what I saw was like the women with the power suits and the friggin' gigantic shoulder pads, and like you look
Oh,
back
the
at all the
shoulder
oh, I
pads.
know. I've seen a couple of them come back. I'm like, there's no
Oh
fucking way
my
that's
goodness.
happening. But
Yeah.
I think it was like this era of men, women were traditionally at home for a long time. Then women had to go to work. When they went to work, they started to get a little bit of this power, a little bit at a time. And then all of a sudden it went really bonkers, where it was like, it wasn't a partnership anymore. It was, I don't need a man. I don't need him to do this. I don't need him telling me, and all the stuff that we've seen all along. And we went too far the other way. And to this point where if you tell a man enough times you don't need him, he will eventually peace out. He'll
Mhm.
check out in some way, whether it's with another woman, whether it's with games, alcohol, all of those things. Eventually he will check out. And then your story becomes the truth because he's checked out.
Mm.
And so often,
And we get what
what
we
you
focus on, right?
exactly 100%.
Yeah.
And it's so when I think about what's led up to this, 80s and the 90s, of this narrative that we just didn't need guys and all this kind of shit. And I was, trust me, I mean, I was a single mom at 20. I said all of this. I have 4 daughters. I raised them all with this narrative, that strong women, you don't need a man. Bullshit. I may not need one to live, but I want one. I want to
Mhm.
come home and like, the word I've been using a lot in my podcast is exhale. And when I'm done, and I work at home with my husband, when I'm done, I want to exhale and I want him to catch me.
Mm.
And so if we don't,
I
uh,
love
yeah, it feels good to say it. Um, but yeah, if you don't let him, he won't.
that. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And when, I think what's interesting too, like what I've noticed is, I think, and I mentioned this in your podcast as well, is I actually, in my most recent, like long-term relationship that was ended about a year ago, um, I remember at one point we were arguing about something and he was like, "You don't need me." And I was like, "You're damn right I don't need you." You know,
Yeah.
like, "You're right, I don't need you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Why would you want me to need, like, why would you want that?" And I'm like, and as I've peeled back, right, the layers of that,
Right.
I start to see, and it kind of like doesn't necessarily hurt my heart because I see it and I see the gift in it now.
Hmm.
But initially I was like, "Oh my gosh, like
Right.
there's a little boy inside there,
Hmm.
just like there's a little girl inside all of us,
Yep.
right? There's a little boy inside there too. And he's a superhero and
Yep.
he wants to continue to be that superhero for you." And unfortunately, I think, even with like Hollywood and just like conditioning, I grew up in a household where my mom told me too, like, "You don't need a man. Like, you don't
Right.
need a man." And so I think that, resonated a little too deeply with me at the
Yep.
time. Because, here I am. I'm 36 years old. I've never been married. I have no kids. I've been incredibly independent, and independence has also been something that I was striving for. Yet
Right.
I was like longing for love, right?
Yep.
And like wanting that connection and like, you know, feeling that connection that can happen, with the masculine. And I will say, as soon as the more I've let down my sword, right? And
Hmm.
Allison Armstrong talks a lot about this. For those of you that are not familiar, she's an incredible pioneer in understanding men and understanding women and why we do
Mm.
the certain things that we do. Um, and, you know, I've laid down that sword. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. right? But
Right.
I've laid down that sort of emasculating men and rather like starting to appreciate them for who they are.
Yeah.
Because it's so, so powerful.
I'll
So
say,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll just to jump in, and like the thing about it is, because women, a lot of women don't even understand or don't even know that this is going on. And I think one of the things that I hear most often is like when you hear a woman describing, so let's say she has 4 kids, right? And a husband. How many kids do you have? And she'll be like, oh, I have 4. Well, 5 if you include my husband.
Yeah, and
And
they think
she's
it's
all
funny.
cutesy about it, right? And now, first of all, deep inside, it's not fucking funny. We know it's not funny. I can tell you, as a married woman with kids, I don't think that's funny in my heart. If I say it, and I'm sure I've said it, I don't feel that it's funny. I'm quietly inside of my soul, truthfully, this is all heart right now, is I'm screaming for him to help me. I'm screaming. And when I make a comment like that, it's not I'm being mean to you. It's like, please pick up on this and help me. Please pick up on this. And if a man doesn't know, and if he's wounded because maybe I've wounded him or he's come wounded to my relationship, he's not picking up the whisper. Neil Conlon talks about the whisper all the time.
Yeah.
And so when women say that, it is you're taking his balls away in front of people. And that's the quickest way to get a man to not pay attention, not try to protect you, not try to make you feel seen and heard, and all of those things we talk about. But it's not, men, it is painful. Like if a woman says that about you, know that she is not seeing it in any type of way that makes her feel good. It's insulting to you outwardly, but it's also a cry for her to be like, holy shit, I need to step up. And like, I think the biggest problem right now that we're facing in relationships is the polarity, making sure the man is in his masculine, the woman is in her feminine. But it doesn't mean weakness. I just read a woman reached out to me today and she said, sweetness doesn't equal weakness. And that's the truth. And I feel more powerful in this feminine core than I've ever felt in my life. And it was scary in the beginning. It was really scary. Like Date with Destiny was one of the events that we've done. And when I came out of that, I viscerally understood what it meant to feel in my feminine, but it was very foreign to me. And as soon as COVID happened, I went racing back to my masculine because all of a sudden I need to be in control again. And I'm like not trusting him. And then, that whole dynamic starts all over. But I want to impress upon the women and the men, I suppose, as well, that it doesn't feel good to emasculate you. It never has, it never will.
No.
Understand that when women are doing it, they are crying and screaming for you to wake up and really kind of put them in their place lovingly, but put them in their place and take back that control.
Right? Yeah, I've always said that. Like, it's funny because it just like as I've been, dating or, as I meet men here and there, one thing I think maybe I don't say it out loud, but it's just like, I need a man that can put me in my place. Like they can put me in my place and not take my BS, because that's one thing about the sometimes the feminine, right? When we feel scared, right, or unheard or unseen, we start barking.
Oh
right?
yeah.
We just start barking. And when we bark, right, oftentimes it's not exactly what we don't exactly mean it, right? We don't mean the things that come out of our mouth. I love that Alison Armstrong talks about, she says, men mean what they say and say what they mean, and women don't. Now,
that's right.
Ladies, don't take that personally. Don't take offense to that. It's all in good fun and good humor, but it's true because, if you take a man and a woman, right, and they're the same stature, same height, weight, etc., a man will always 110% be stronger, will always be bigger. And the animal inside of us, that instinctual element inside of us is always going to be like, how can we protect ourselves?
Right.
And physically, we may not be able to, but boy, can we do it verbally.
Oh yeah.
And we break, I mean, like,
and it can be so nasty. And I mean, like,
it is. We can be very evil at times.
Awful. Like, there's times when I'll be in it, and I will be barking my face off. And I will be saying, Cara, what are you doing? Why are you barking? And I will keep fucking going until you stop me. And sometimes it's a pattern break. Like one thing Ken is so good at is breaking my pattern with stupidity. Like he will do the dumbest shit and then I'm like, okay, I got nothing. I got nothing. And then I shut up and then we move on. But like
Yeah.
couples really suffer in this area because all that stacking of resentment will happen when really it's like, if you could understand the language of what the woman is saying, and if the woman could understand what she's doing to the man, it could be leveled out really quickly, but it can go on for years and years. And then like cheating and divorce and all those things start to happen. But, and I think too, like, a lot of times you hear, well, we're staying for the together for the kids, all this kind of, and I say shit because it's shit. It's garbage. You're teaching them nothing. You're teaching them what an unhealthy marriage looks like. That will set them up. When parents say that, I think it's a cowardly thing to say because it's just uncomfortable to make the move. And if anyone wants to come at me on that one, I'm happy to have a loving
I'm in agreement with you.
conversation.
Yeah.
But it's never because of the kids. And I think one of the things I've seen a lot of is, like I mentioned, have 4 daughters. So 32, 23, 19, and 11. And the older 3 have seen this independent masculine version of me all these years. Not with them in particular, but with their dad or in other areas. And now I've had to recoil and be like, holy shit. Like if your boyfriend wants to open the door for you, let him open the door for you.
And
I
then
know you
praise
can
him for
do
doing it.
Yes.
And then praise him for doing it.
It's a beautiful gesture. Like I've heard women, I've seen them on posts of, I don't need a guy to open a door for me. No, of course you don't. But let him do it. He just wants to be your hero. And then tell him how beautiful that is. Because the more he does those things, the closer you get and you can drop the guard. But if you keep fighting every little tiny thing, like I won't name her, but one of my daughters, I'm in front of her, I said, can you just let him help you? Like, just let him do the little, and she said, Mom, I've been letting him do it. And I said, and she's like, it feels really good. And I said, I know. And I know that you can, baby. I know you can do whatever the thing is. Just let him do it. And it's those little wins that eventually add up to big wins. And then he shows up stronger. The wounded boy
puffs his chest.
That's right. The wounded boy starts to heal. And then the mature masculine come on. And that's like, that is like,
it's
when
powerful.
you can see a man like that, oh my God, it's amazing.
Incredibly powerful.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm curious. You mentioned, as we both, as a woman and as an entrepreneur and a successful entrepreneur, it's finding that balance, right? So what do you do? How do you find that balance? Like, what are the things that you do to create that balance?
A lot of biting my tongue. Which is still not totally successful. So some of the things I practice, so crystals, I have crystals in front of me and I'll just pop one. Like I have a lot of these. So one of the weird things about my marriage is that we don't share a bedroom anymore. When I moved back in after 3 years of separation, so we did get back together in January. I have my own room and he has his own room. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm feeling about. In the beginning, I loved it, but I still love it aesthetically, right? Because I can have my room. It's very pink. You can see there's a Chanel pic. Like it's girly. I know I'm wearing a baseball cap, but normally, I'm very like hair's curled or whatever. I felt like doing casual today.
Yeah.
But so one of the ways is having my own space. And I know that's not possible for everybody. But even if it's a little corner of your house where it's something beautiful that you can look at. Pink, I'm obsessed with pink, light pink things. My website's all pink. And I just feel like very in flow. That's one way. So your environment absolutely matters. Absolutely matters. The other way is goddess baths. I've started to call them that with all the kids. So even Amelia, she's 11, and I'll say, do you want mom to run you a goddess bath? And we know what that means. It's not just running a bath. It's candles, it's spa music, it's a diffuser in the bathroom, it's Epsom salts, like the works, bubble bath. And I just let her go and she can have like a little spa treatment. But the active salt, as you know, just like washes all of that energy off of you. Journaling is humongous. I know we all talk about it, but it's one of those things. It's invaluable. And I don't write it as if it's happening. I write it as if it's already happened. And that shift was about 3 months ago, and it's made a huge difference. And then shadow work. I've started shadow work right now. And oddly enough, maybe not so oddly, because you have to be incredibly vulnerable when you're doing it. And if just to kind of clarify, shadow work is really the work that you do on your insides that you're afraid of, that you don't want anyone to see or hear or feel or anything. And it's the stuff that's really deep in there. And I've started doing that, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, like, you think about all the years, even you and I have known each other doing all this work, it's still really fucking hard. But
Mm-hmm.
I get into a really deep sense of my vulnerability, and that's feminine divine right there. And then the fourth thing that I love to do, and I haven't been that great at doing it lately, is breath works. Like, where was this my whole life? And
Right.
and I know it's like breathing. Well, yeah, of course, but it's a very intentional, it's shamanic type of breathing that, um, hopefully this is not TMI, but I've even had like a body orgasm from doing it, and like no hands anywhere, just through breathing. And
Mm-hmm.
just, you get so enveloped in the vibration of it all that it will take you up, and then you get dropped down at some points, and then you come back out of it. And it's really just a series of breathing where you go deep into whatever it is that's going on in there. But I always feel really in my feminine when I do that. So those are just some of the ways that I can get into it. But you
Yeah.
have to be conscious of it, right? Like, if you're an entrepreneur and most everyone is at home still working, I won't go anywhere. I'll still be working at home. It's like, you have to consciously say, if you're in a relationship, it's important to say to the husband, I also need my caveman time. I
Yeah.
also need my decompression time. I need my goddess time. Give me 20 minutes. Keep the kids out of my hair for 20 minutes. Let me go and transition. And you'll get a much better wife if you are open and allow for that space. And ditto for him. But we need it
Yeah.
just as much as they do.
Yeah. I love that. You know, it's so funny that you mentioned like the separate bedrooms. I was just talking to someone very recently about that. Like, there's a lot of benefit out of having separate bedrooms, because your energies aren't completely magnetized and like sucked out of each other,
Yep.
by sharing a bed space, day in and day out. Um, Again, I don't know if that's necessarily where I will end up eventually. But I've heard there's a lot of interesting findings there around that.
So the interesting thing with Ken, like, Ken has incredibly heavy energy. He's an introvert, he's a writer, he's very creative, but even his body is like, we all secretly hate him, because the guy like could not work out for 10 years if he wanted, and he'd still maintain muscle mass. He's just one of those weirdos.
Yeah.
But it's very dense though. His body is very dense, so his energy is very dense. And I can't, like, there's times when he's hugging me, I'm like, yo, you need to like lift that. And he'll go, okay, hold on. Like, he's so cute, he's so conscious of it. He's like, hold on. And he'll shift a little bit, and then it is lighter. But if I had to sleep in the same bed every day, and it's not an indicate, like, this is the thing people think, right? And this is old school mentality. Well, if we're not sharing a bed, that must mean we don't love each other. No, it doesn't. That's a
Yeah.
story. Like, he can come over, do what he needs to do, and go back to his room, and I go to sleep and have a good night's sleep. I mean,
I
that sounds
love
okay to
that.
me.
No, I honestly, I think that sounds amazing. You know, I know that, especially like early on in relationships, when things can be like really, really passionate and like you just want to be together all the time. And
Hmm.
then you kind of start to realize like, oh my God, I need some like boundaries. I need some space. And I know and again, a story for another time, but I found myself more recently um, realizing that space actually can create more polarity.
Hmm.
That space can create more, um a really beautiful dynamic, and connecting with the other person by creating that space. I mean,
Yep.
I know I talked about this a little bit on your podcast, but I've done a lot of work with Jaya,
Hmm.
and she's a sex coach, and she works a lot with understanding the different blueprints that we all have, and we all have different blueprints and how we support ourselves intimately, right? And like what turns us on, what turns us off, all that kind of stuff. And I'm a very much an energetic, which
Hmm.
again, because of that, like there's that space, like there's so much power in like creating that space, because it creates that polarity,
Yep.
between the two.
Um, let's touch on sex for 1 second too. This is something really interesting. And a mutual friend of ours, Bill, he was on the show recently.
Oh, you had him on?
Yeah, it hasn't been
Yes.
released yet, but it was really good. And
Yeah.
we talked about even like masturbation, and this is
Yeah.
like, we didn't get too deep into it obviously, but what can you really, I mean, I'm sure you could do a whole episode on that too, but
Yeah.
um the interesting thing that what I discovered is that a woman who's in her masculine, this is kind of like a bit of a gauge for you ladies to know, because some of them, I'm not in my masculine. If you're saying I'm not in my masculine, you're probably in your masculine. But
Yeah. Feel your body.
if you're not sure, right, if you're not totally sure where you're at, if a woman goes to please herself and she's like in and out, just get the job done, da 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 da, good indicator that you're in your masculine, because that's a job oriented type of thing. If you decide to make an event of it, you've lit some candles, you've got some nice music or whatever, you lock the door, everybody leave me alone, and then you take your time, that feeling, that's your feminine. And it's really easy.
Mm.
Like there's definitely times where I was like, oh shit, I was definitely in my masculine.
Oh yeah.
And but that's a really good like, if you take the time with yourself and slow the whole pace down, that's, you're in flow there. But if you're like, get in, get out, I gotta make dinner,
Yeah.
you're generally in your hunter mode or your masculine mode. So
Yeah,
I
that's really
love her.
amazing. So I'm curious, have you done anything with like breath work as it relates to intimacy?
No, I haven't. I'm new. Like I did a seminar right before COVID started that I learned about. Like I mean, I knew about the Wim Hof stuff. We learned that at Tony, but
Yeah.
I haven't really even gone that direction. But no, I haven't. Like, and I'm excited for when Toronto really actually opens up instead of this fake opening up right now, what it's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's so many things I'm gonna learn.
Yeah, there's so many fun things, and I think the more that, especially like during this COVID time, I think the more and more people are starting to wake up, right?
Yeah.
And wake up, their souls are starting to wake up in such a way of like really getting curious and starting
Mm.
to explore. And I think one thing that, like in relation to breath work, like something that you can do so small just with your partner is just like, he can just, even just be sitting on the couch or laying on the couch, and you just like snuggle up to him and just start breathing together.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, I mean, I just
I
did
could
this the other
totally see
day.
how that would work. Yep.
Yeah. I just did this the other day. So I've been dating someone, and it has like, we were just kind of talking through it, and I was like, oh my God, like, let's do this. And he was really excited about doing it. And I was like, okay. And I will tell you, like, it's magnetic. Like, it is
Yep.
incredibly magnetic. Electric. It is a powerful thing just by getting in sync with your breath.
Right. Yep.
I mean,
I
who
know.
would have thought?
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful and squishy. I just
It
love it.
is. It is.
I know.
So, and I have to share this too. So, as I kind of, this is the first time I've spilled the beans about, I've been dating someone. Um, and I'm kind of surprised I'm doing it, but you know what? Here we go.
It's all
no,
good.
no time like the present. But he's an incredibly awakened soul, and has explored a lot of that side of
Hmm.
understanding like different tantric practices and things like that, and how breathwork can play into it. And I will tell you, through that exploration that he has done, he's created a presence that is so powerful that literally I could just sit there and we could stare at each other's eyes and not say a word for hours. For hours.
Wow.
For hours. And I've never experienced that up
That's
until now.
amazing. Yeah.
And it is powerful because, and then it's like what you just said, like if you've ever been in that place where like, okay, come on, hurry up, whatever. Like that doesn't even, when you're in that place, you can't even fathom,
Right.
like, what is hurry up? No, there is no time. Time is an
Right.
illusion. Like
Yep.
it's just standing still. And that is so freeing to the
But you
feminine.
notice that you have to allow it too, right? Like that's the
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
thing, is that because there's that apprehension of, especially in a tantric situation, of
Mhm.
giving up the control. But it's, yeah, I mean,
Oh, it's
I
freeing.
feel I feel, yeah, like it's just the safety that happens. And yeah, it is an amazing feeling to just exhale
Yeah.
in all areas.
And that's so Allison Armstrong talks about that, about how when we are, we have a connection to the divine in the universe, right? And when we like have that breath, when we're like, that's actually a really good thing. So if you can make a woman
Yeah.
do that, guys, if you can make a woman go,
Yeah.
like just relax into her feminine, that is powerful.
Yep. You're
Incredibly
getting
powerful.
anything you want
You
that
will
night,
get
let me
anything
tell
that
you.
you want. Absolutely. That is so true. Oh man. Yeah. I could talk about this stuff for hours. It's so powerful. So I'm curious. Okay. Actually, I do have some questions for you.
Okay. Ask away.
This is gonna be really fun. So I always like to do this with my guests on the show. It's just fun to like get to know people a little bit more on like a personal level, um, and that sort of thing. So, Cara, I'm curious, what book has influenced you the most and why?
So I had two that I came up. Actually, that's a harder question to answer truthfully, but if
First one that comes to
one, the
mind.
first one was Rose Matter, which is a Stephen King book. And I know that's so random. I should be picking like a Tony book or something. But so Rose Matter, I read that. Oh my gosh. It's a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
And I read that the first time, I don't know, maybe 15 or something over that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing that's impactful about it is I'm not a big FOMO person, but I am a big fear of regret person. And if there's
Okay.
time when I don't feel like doing the something, I will often think about this book, and I will definitely not give it away, but basically it's like a domestic violence type of situation that has a Stephen King supernatural flair to it. But in it, in the beginning, she leaves the marriage, and it just reminds you of, if I don't do the thing, I don't want to be in that marriage or in that life or in that wherever for the next 70, 80, 90, whatever years, and regret not taking the leap. And so it often hits me where I'm like, okay, so you don't like, if it's the podcast, okay, so you don't feel like editing the podcast today, just do it tomorrow. And I'm like, nope, I don't want to regret
Mm.
missing that second that I could have done this and then added something else. And so for me, my driving factor really does come to that fear of regret or fear of not living up to where I know I can go. And that's part of why that
That's
book is so
powerful.
impactful. Yeah, I love that book. Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay, then you said that you had another one.
Yes, the Barbara Corcoran, I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She wrote it's Shark Tales, and she
Cochrane,
was on.
Isn't it Cochrane or
No, it's spelled that way, but I know every time I say that, I've got a friend who's like,
I
no, it's
don't
not how
know
you
her.
pronounce it.
The
I'm
gal
like,
from
fine.
Shark Tank is who
Yeah,
we're referring to.
Barbara,
Yeah.
real estate
Yeah.
gajillionaire. And again, for me, it was like, I just like reading powerful women who started with fuck all and who built these beautiful empires and who are just all about um, each other. And I think, and I mean, that one's a little bit, I don't need a man, but the man was kind of a douche, so it's fine that she didn't need him. But it's like this, yeah, I know it's a little
Yeah.
contradicting my views now, but it's just the idea that women, we can do, I really sincerely believe we're going to change the world. Like, I actually believe that
I think we
the
have,
more of
and we're
us,
continuing
way
to.
more, like, I think we're
Yeah.
going to obliterate all, like, if everyone is in their heart, can you just imagine for like 1 second what that looks like everybody in their heart. Like, no one's killing anybody. No one's putting a knee on a man's neck. No one's putting a plane into a fucking building. No one's doing any of that. None of it. And I feel like women are coming up, and we're starting to rise together in this way. In business, it's sort of like we kind of did a sneak attack, and now we're like going to love the shit out of everybody. No one's going to know what to do with us. Like, we're like, yeah, we can do business, whatever. And like, we're all sort of camped around it now. We're like, you thought this was it? No. We're going to hug you now. We're going to love you now. You're not going to know what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just love reading about women who've come up. And then we take each other up with us, and then everybody comes along. It's beautiful.
Oh, I love that. It's so beautiful. And it's so true, I think I don't know if I mentioned this, but one of my teachers that I love learning from mentioned the highest form of feminine leadership is just asking the question, what would love do?
Mm-hmm.
What would love do?
Yep.
I've been asking myself that a lot recently, especially as I'm navigating kind of some interesting waters right now. And what's interesting is even just saying that, like, what would love do? I feel
Right.
myself just kind of relax.
Right.
I feel my whole body just kind of like
Sink.
yeah. And it's
It,
really, really powerful.
it always, like, I'll tell a quick story. There was, when I was crewing in New York, my first crew event, there's a part at the UPW where it's called the Dickens process, and it's a tough one, and you really have to dig, and it can be scary, and it can be all these things. If you've not gone, whenever
Yes.
you can, I recommend it. And I said to the crew leader, Chuck, I said to him, I don't know what to do, because we had the opportunity to either serve or participate, and I'd already done one, and I was like, I don't know what to do, Chuck. And I'm like, I really, I'm not sure which way I'm pulled. And he grabbed my hand, he puts it on my heart, and he goes, "This knows." And then he walked away. I was like,
I love Chuck.
"What the hell? Get back here!"
I
And he
love
just
Chuck.
said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he was right. And so I served at that one. I didn't participate. I served, and it was the most beautiful.
Wasn't it beautiful?
Oh my God, I was sobbing when I just saw
Oh,
everybody when they come out of it and they're like celebrating the shit out of what's going to happen. I'm like, I get shivers talking
I
about it,
literally
but
have chills as you're talking
yeah.
about it.
And
Oh,
but
so
that's it, right?
magical.
This knows always. Like, I have another company, and I lead with my heart, and my husband leads with his heart. And there's clients that don't gel with us, and they just want to stay in that negative vibration, and we're getting better at exercising them out of our space.
Yeah.
And I think how powerful that is, that if I can lead any company with my heart, everything just flows better. My decisions are quicker and better. And, you know, we still need the masculine, don't get me wrong. We still need that to, like, get shit done and execute. But when it comes to what would love do in this moment, it's so easy. It's so easy to get there, because ultimately, like, we all just want each other to be happy, safe, healthy, all those things. And when you're in your heart, it's a total no-brainer. It literally is a no-brainer,
It
because
is.
your heart is there and your brain does not even need to help you.
In your heart, you're smart. In your head, you're dead.
Yep, totally. I live that way. As I try to live that way 100%. I'm human, I don't, but I definitely live that way as much as I can.
It's so beautiful. But I would expect nothing less from you, beautiful soul that you
my
are.
dear.
Okay, so the next question: if you could do anything that you wanted to tonight, anywhere, go anywhere for
God.
any amount of money, what would you do and why?
What did I say? I don't even remember what I said.
It's
Okay, well, I'm
okay.
not going to worry about what I said.
Whatever comes to you.
What I would do tonight is I would get my ass, pack a bag for everybody, get all our asses on a plane, and go literally anywhere in the world that we could go.
Right.
And someplace with a boat. I'm fascinated by being on yachts. I want to do that this summer somehow. I don't know, but I think traveling. And then the second piece would be to take my 1,000 women to UPW. I mean, that's like, it's the challenges. There's not the space right now to have these events, but I just know that the more people that understand the mission of finding love and not just leading with their heads all the time, it's just going to shift everything. And I'm sad that this year has really curtailed the mission to do that, but I know it's happening as it's supposed to happen, and I trust that it's happening the way it's supposed to happen, because there's nothing I can do about it anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like family trip, UPW would be the things that I would definitely be.
And
you know
what I've found, because I think you and I spoke about this before, but I've realized that this whole lockdown, this first, I can't even believe we're into July at this point. And, what I've learned with all of, like, the events being canceled, like, I went to 8 events last year.
Yep, me too.
And and like you, I travel a lot, and I'm used to traveling a lot. And so by not traveling, like, there's this kind of, like, it's just this weird shift in how we show up, right? And at the same time, we're not going to the events that we would always see each other every couple of months, right? And like be able to give
Yep.
each other hugs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And what
hugs.
I know, right? Like physical touch is a real thing. I mean, I live
Yep.
alone. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, I told you, I've recently started dating someone. When he came and visited, like, I mean, we were inseparable.
Like a monkey. Yeah. I'm not
Literally, I was
letting
like,
go.
you cannot
Bye.
leave. You cannot leave. Yeah, it's just, what I've also realized is that there is always a gift, right? And what is the
Totally.
gift? I look at it as you, me, our crew family, our community of people. It's time for us to rise up,
Yeah.
right? And be the light, right?
100%.
Because the more that we shine our light, the more others will start to shine theirs. You know, it's like we go to Tony Robbins events because that's one area that where we go and learn and immerse
Mhm.
ourselves and go and and just soak up everything we possibly can. And he's not a guru, right?
No.
We go in and we take what we can, and then we relate it to our lives, right?
Right.
And then the people that we can affect and that
Yeah.
we can support throughout that mission. You know, whether you go to a Tony Robbins event or not, you know, just by surrounding yourself with people
Mm-hmm.
that are playing at a level maybe that's just a little bit different than you.
Right. Yep.
And that's okay. You know, there's always room for growth. There's always room to, you know, to move up in that realm. But I truly believe like this is our time. Like we all have to rise up together.
And the reality of that statement is that by now we would have gone to what, we'd be on our second or third event,
Yeah.
maybe even another.
Yeah.
The gift in this for me is I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I got to work. And like, as much as I love the things I do, I was still dicking around much of the time, right? Like I'd be out doing this and doing that. And now all of She's the Owner has been born the last 3 months in this like mega powerful thing I'm about to launch, which would not have happened in the speed. Yeah. So there's a beautiful gift in it. And that's it. Life is happening for us, not to us.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Those are words to live by, for real. But there's
are.
Definitely gift in it, you know, and
for sure.
I get pissy every now and then, but I remember like, and I just said to my 11-year-old, I'm like, I've got the last 3 months nonstop with her. Like, when the hell did I ever get that with my other kids at this age? It didn't happen. They were in school. Yeah. You know, and she's so good and she's so funny. And she's little mini me and coaches the sisters and all this. Are you in your masculine right now?
Oh my God, I love it.
Shut your face, lady.
I love it.
Yeah, she calls us all out. It's quite hilarious, but yeah.
That's amazing. That's so good. Okay, next question. We been a little derailed there. Shocking. If you had the opportunity, it's okay. We're just flowing.
I know, it's us. We do this. This is what we do.
Chatting. That's what I love. Okay, so if you had the opportunity to meet one person that you have not met, who would it be and why? And then what would you talk about?
What did I say again? I forget. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those weird things. Like I mean, I would have said Justin Timberlake like 3 years ago, but I did meet him.
I'm bringing sexy back.
Whatever. And you know what I said to him when I met him?
Oh, what?
Hey, that was it. Like, what kind of
we all
like,
well, don't we all get a little bit like stars? We all get a little starstruck.
Oh, I didn't want to be. It was at the Toronto Film Festival in 2016, I think. And it was funny because I had it on my vision board and I was like, I'm going to meet him. You guys are all crazy. It's going to happen. And they're like, sure, mom, sure, honey, blah, blah, blah. So we always go to the film festival and we go and we'll go to some movies. We'll watch the celebrities walk around, whatever. And sure enough, he was doing a movie that year. And I'm like, let's go. So I dragged my 19-year-old now and she's like, she loves it. So we're like in the little partition. We're like, oh, the stars. Oh my God, it's so exciting. And I'm like, holy shit, here he comes. So he's coming from this way, and everybody's flipping out behind me, right? Screaming, Justin. And I'm like, and my daughter, I can hear her behind me going, mom, he's right there, mom. And I was like, shh, I know he's right fucking there. Shh. She's like, Mom. And I'm like, shut up. So he comes walking and I have a picture of him and I'm like, hey. And he signs my picture. But I did get my picture in People magazine beside him. Thank you very much. Yes,
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. So
That's amazing.
he's not who I'd want to meet. But I guess I probably would want to meet, maybe I would say Tony. I think I say it tricky like that, or because I'm afraid of him. Like that's the other. Yeah,
that makes
like
two of us.
And I probably a lot of us, right? Like I love him. I think he's like a giant. He's just fun. He's funny as fuck. Like after about 2 minutes, I probably would be like, cool. But like, even at the events, this is, and I don't know if this is masculine or feminine or what part of me this is, but like, whenever I see him walking by, I'm like, don't make eye contact. Do not make fucking eye contact. I'm busy in my workbook. Do not talk to me. Because I have this fear of like school, right? Like, what if the teacher asks you a question and you don't know the answer? And that's my big thing with him. So I would love to meet him and shoot the shit with him and Sage, truthfully. But there would be a part of me who's like, oh my gosh, girl, he's gonna ask me a question, I won't know the answer.
You are just, that is exactly like me. I've thought about it where I'm like, but I can actually look at him now when I'm crewing. Like if I'm mic running, I'm totally fine looking at him. I'm like, okay, I'm just looking at his necklace or like look at his pocket, you know, and I'm like, I'm protecting you. Like this is all good, you know, whatever. But like to actually go through an intervention, like, no, I don't want it. And maybe, I think that's one of the things, there's clearly a part of me that maybe needs that intervention.
Well, hello. Yeah.
Right.
Me
right.
Too.
And I'm just going to lean into it. It's going to happen when it's meant to happen.
Right.
No.
Well, at Day with Destiny, I was very much like, I said to my coach, okay, I'm gonna put my hand up if I get asked or whatever. So I just want to fix that. If I get asked, you know, I'll put my hands up and I'll whatever. And like, there's a bunch of times where I definitely could have put my hand up and I was like, nope, I'm not putting my hand up. And I didn't. And I do sort of regret it, but I'm also hiding behind well, if it was meant to happen, it was going to happen. That's bullshit. I could have made that shit happen, but I chose not to. But yeah, it's all good.
That's okay. It's a process, right? It's an evolution.
Yep.
Things are always happening for us. Okay. Oh, this is a fun question. So you're stuck on it, and I love hearing people's answers to this.
Oh,
this is like one of my favorite questions. Because I will tell you,
trying to catch it where it is here.
Everyone is different. You are stuck on a deserted island, and you can only take 3 things with you. What would they be, and then why?
Okay, so I said my family, my iPhone with a solar charger, and of course the Rose Matter book. Family, obviously, I would go mental without them. iPhone, because I feel like I wouldn't need it if I had. I'm a pretty resourceful person when it comes to like being outdoors. I grew up camping and all that kind of stuff, so I'm pretty good that way. But I feel like if shit hit the fan, I would need to have that phone if I needed to look up, can I eat this flower or can I eat that animal? And I feel like it'd be important to have that and the solar component to keep it charged. And Rose Matter would get me through the times when I want to kill everybody, truthfully, because that book makes me happy. But yeah, I love it. It's those would be the 3 things I would take.
I love it. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so next question: when and where were you happiest in your life?
So it's an interesting. The answer is kind of interesting. There's been many, many times where I've been extraordinarily happy with my children being born, all that type of thing. And I don't want to say the kind of obvious stuff. I think that goes without saying. But in more recent times, one of the happiest times was when I was on my own, when I'd moved out from being with my husband. And the reason is it was the place that I was at. It was like, see, I just took a big exhale.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still be in that house, but the owner wanted to sell it. So he asked me not to be there anymore. And I was very disappointed. But there was this sense of peace that I could be by myself again. I'd been in the relationship and married for 17 years at that point. And as independent as I think I am, I think at that moment in time, I really didn't know. And I was really chicken and I hadn't gone to any Tony events yet. I hadn't done UPW yet. And I just felt this sense of peace that I was okay on my own. I loved the house. The energy in the house was unbelievable. But it was just that feeling of independence, but independent of a lot of the bullshit stories that I had created about what marriage looked like, what family looked like. And I think I just came to this place of peace where I knew that he and I could even be, conscious uncoupling, as they say, and everyone was going to be okay no matter what happened between us. And I just had space to breathe. And I think, like, again, Ken has really, really, really deep, heavy energy. His presence is like, he's the same height as me, but he's like a little elephant in the room. Like, he takes the whole, and his daughter is that way. His oldest is that way as well. And that's great. That's, people like that change the world if they choose to.
Yeah.
But I just had my own little thing, and it felt really good. Like, it felt safe. It felt all the things that we wanted to feel. So that, I would say, that was one time in my life that I felt really good, and I'm happy to be back. And I mean, I don't love our house, and so I'm definitely looking to find a different place for us to live. But right now it's challenging. But yeah, that was definitely one of my happiest times of my life.
It's amazing. And I think that sense of freedom and peace was exactly what your heart needed at that time.
It did. Yep.
That's amazing. Okay, well, I know we're just about up on time. And I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're amazing. I always love talking to you.
Thank you. Ditto.
And there's some things that you've got going on. I want you to be able to promote it. So She's the Owner podcast, which is amazing. Have a listen to it. Subscribe. Write a review. It's incredible. What else is going on? Tell me.
The podcast is my ultimate favorite thing to do ever. I did not know that was my calling until I jumped in one day, and it's so fun. I love hearing like everybody's stories and all the stuff that's going on with them. So that's definitely something I'm super passionate about. And within that business, there is something called the Goddess Slumber Party. And I think all of us business owners, I mean, before we started recording, you told me about 10 different things that you're doing. And like, we're always in masterminds, and we're always doing courses, and we're always learning. And it's like, all this stuff, right? And so same with conferences. Like, any conference we go to, the goal is to come out of there with some new skills or blah, blah, blah. This is a party. This is a slumber party. Like when we were teenagers, like it's going to be in Sedona, as long as everyone's allowed to go there. I know, because there's a lot of good energy and good juju there.
Yes, the vortex.
So it's like, there's a cap at about 25 women. And basically for 4 days, we're just going to chill. We're going to do some goddess type of stuff. We're going to do breath work. We're going to do some shadow work. We're going to dance our asses off. Going to get glammed up one night, go for a nice dinner. So it's just no learning, no business talk, no strategy talk. We'll have some speakers talking about some, intimate things or whatever. But by and large, it's just like a fucking party for us to be at together. And then the other really exciting thing in December, so that will be in December of this year, hopefully, all things considered. The other thing that I'm launching is called the Goddess Box. And so that's going to come out 4 times a year. And it will be just really like when I talk about what keeps me in my feminine, it's going to be a box of things that will help you as a female business owner stay nicely grounded into your feminine. So candles, bubble bath, salt bath, a journal that you're going to keep, and then you get to renew it once you get your new box, and a whole bunch of other little goodies. And that's launching in December. I know. Yes. It's going to be awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. And where else can people find you? Where can everybody find you?
So the easiest place is Instagram at She's the Owner. And the podcast is there, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook as well. Cara McCarron is the quickest way there, but Instagram, I'm super duper active on. So that's right.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely put those links in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome.
You're so amazing. I just love you to death. And you just have such a beautiful energy. And I'm excited for this goddess slumber party.
I know.
And these goddess boxes. Like, what an amazing idea. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, girl.